Hi everyone, it's Bonnie here from Bonnie Caroline Makes Cards, and I have a fun interactive card to share with you today. This card features the fabulous new Sparkle Spectrum Rainbow Gradient Glitter Paper. So I thought to myself, how could I possibly use more than one of these color blends? And I came up with making a color changing card. This is an easy interactive card to make and so much fun for the recipient. I began with black cardstock A2 size that had been die cut with Marrakesh mosaic. Acetate is being trimmed down to just a little bit smaller than A2 size. I'm just checking to see how it fits up against the die cut panel. The acetate will be adhered to the back of it, so I'm going to use Tombow glue and place it on all of the solid lines that run diagonally in both directions on the back of the black panel. I don't want to have any glue smearing on the acetate, which is why I've chosen Tombow glue. This glue is going to be left to dry completely. When it is dry, it will be tacky and repositionable, and I won't have to worry about messing up my acetate. I'll set it aside for roughly 15 minutes. These are thin streams of glue, so it won't take too long to dry, and I'll know when it's ready because the glue will have a translucent look to it. I have several strips of black cardstock that have been trimmed down to 1/4 inch wide and 5.5 inches tall. I'm going to be stacking 3 together, and all together I'm going to create 3 barriers. This panel of the glitter cardstock has been cut down to 5.5 inches tall by 4.25 inches wide, A2 size. And at the bottom, I'm going to be attaching one of those barriers. I've lined it up on one end, so I just need to snip down the other end so that it is flush with the edge of the panel. Now I can go ahead and adhere those stacked strips on either side of the panel. After each strip is put in place, it is easier to check the alignment with the panel flipped over, and it is very obvious because the back of the glitter paper is white. And then I'll just trim off the ends of each of those 2 strips that I just added on. So this is the second panel of gradient glitter paper that I've chosen, and it needs to fit right within those barriers. I've pushed it right into the corner, flipped it over, and I'm just going to make a pencil mark on the back to get the height correct. I'll just line up that pencil mark on the guillotine and trim it off. So I'll take my panel again, this time pushing it up against the side so that it is overhanging the panel, and then I'll make a mark with my pencil where the inside of the barrier is. Then that pencil mark is again lined up on the guillotine and trimmed down to size. The glitter paper will be attached to black cardstock so that I can sandwich a pull tab in between the two. So I'm just going to hold that glitter paper square up to my cardstock and trim it down without doing any measuring. The pull tab will be created with a strip of the black cardstock that is 1 inch wide. The cardstock that I'm working with is a little bit lighter weight, so I've just scored it and I've folded it in half so that it is a little sturdier. And I'm going to just trim down the length a little bit and adhere both sides together. The tab is going to be adhered to the back of the glitter panel, and I want roughly 1/4 inch to be peeking up from the top of the panel. I'll be handwriting the word pull onto the tab. Before I do that, I'm first going to test out this silver gel pen on a scrap piece of cardstock to make sure that it's going to show up nicely. I'll just be printing in simple block letters. Now the glitter paper panel can be adhered to the black cardstock one, and I make sure that I have very good coverage of glue right across the panel. That completes this panel, which will be the interactive element in the card. The adhesive that is on the back of the die cut panel is dry, and I can go ahead and line it up to the acetate. I chose to cover the back of this panel with acetate because when the interactive element is pulled up and down, I did not want any chance that it would get caught up in those die cut openings. So now I'm adding liquid adhesive along those raised barriers, and then the die cut panel with the acetate will be lined up and adhered on top, forming a pocket. After it's had a few minutes to dry, then I'll test drive it and pop my interactive element in and make sure that it is going to move freely up and down. I'm going to be creating a frame that will sit over top of the panel and clean up those edges. It's back and forth whether to do a rectangle or an oval, and obviously in the end I went with the oval. Add adhesive around the 3 outside edges where the stacked bands are. And then the frame is aligned to this panel and popped into position. The interactive panel is put into place, and I'll pull it up and down and just make sure that everything is moving smoothly, and it is. Sentiment for this card will be the Meraki Moments Hugs, which I've used the small shadow die and the letter die. The shadow die was used to cut black cardstock and foam so that I could stack it. It's a little bit back and forth as to which color of letters that I should use in this color changing card. I started off with pink and then changed my mind. After trying out the pink letters, I then decided on a soft teal that blends into a lilac color and just felt that that was better suited to both color panels. So continuing with that stacked dimensional look, I just glued those letters right on top of the pink ones. So use your imagination and substitute those pink letters for the ones that I just put on as I do the final embellishment for the card. At the center point of each of the tiles in the Marrakesh mosaic design, I'm adding in some matte silver pearls. I wanted to emphasize the design element, but I didn't want to use anything too shiny because, quite frankly, there's enough sparkle going on as there is. And then the card front was adhered to an A2 size black card base. And here is this fun color changing card in action, and you can see how smoothly the interactive panel slides up and down the pocket. I could have put a stopper on either side of the slide so that the panel would not come out, but I liked the idea that the recipient could choose their color palette. That wraps up this interactive color changing card featuring the gorgeous Sparkle Spectrum Rainbow Gradient glitter paper. This cardstock is really unique and special, and you have to check it out. Thank you so much for visiting us, and as always, we appreciate your visit.